Johnny Mac, before I let you go, what's the one thing that needs to happen on Sunday that will put this team in a position to win? Here we go. Football 24/7 with John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. I am fired up, Johnny Mac. I am fired up for this 4 p.m. kick on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. We're coming out of exactly where we were supposed to be or expected to be, 2-4 after the first 6. And now the beatable Raiders, the beatable Lions, and the rest of the NFC sitting on the horizon. I still feel good despite all the smoke that's out there everywhere.
Wow. I wasn't prepared for this kind of energy. I got to catch up, Krausey. I am a little surprised at how people have turned this, as I've said, losses to San Francisco, at Dallas, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, pretty much expected. You get an opening day win in Atlanta. You get a hard-fought comeback win in Carolina. And now you have what, a lot of the advanced analytics people say is the easiest schedule in the NFL the rest of the way. Starting at Las Vegas this week, which is, by the way, one of the tougher games remaining on the schedule. There's hope from that perspective, but I think how they got to 2-4, not that they are 2-4, but how they got to 2-4 disappoints some people. But look, they were in the game with Tampa Bay. They shouldn't have been. A lot of that has to do with Bruce Arians, to be honest, more than what the Eagles did. And they had a chance to make a play at the end of the game, perhaps get the ball back for the offense and go down and win the game. That's pretty good. Kansas City, obviously the defense wasn't great against what is the most explosive offense, but they scored a decent amount of points. Same thing in Dallas. The problem was a lot of those points were garbage time points, I think, and people factor into that. And then San Francisco, I think, is the one game where you look at and say, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, number one. Well, I do know what they were trying to accomplish. San Francisco was down 2 starting corners. They were trying to take advantage of it. But I think they got a little bit too haughty after that week 1 win in Atlanta and thought maybe the quarterback was more than he was at that particular point. They tried to throw the football down the field. They went away from what worked against Atlanta. And it was probably the one game where you say they probably didn't come in with the best plan. Other losses, they just got out-talented. They're not ready to compete at that level with those teams yet.
John, let's stay on the defense for a moment and get your tale of the tape on Jonathan Gannon and on the defensive side of the football. I was fascinated yesterday by your call it top to bottom comparison of the Eagles skill players versus the Cowboy skill players in 1, 2, or 3 minute part of our conversation yesterday. Tail of the tape, Eagles defense, bending a lot, getting pressure by Javon Hargrave. What do you make of it 6 games in?
I think it's been okay for look, if you want to boil it down to the number over 6 games, they're the 11th ranked defense in the NFL by traditional reporting. 11 of 32 is not bad. They don't give up explosive plays, and that's the goal. For me, they don't play enough. They play too much zone coverage, but that's just a personal. It's not fun to watch. Let's put it that way. But when you have issues, especially at the linebacker position, you got to try to overcome them, and you try to have to develop a plan to make that as least as a handicap as possible. They haven't made plays. If you look at Dallas has a similar plan. Dallas gives up a lot of yards, gives up a lot of points, but they've been making plays, specifically with Trayvon Diggs. So occasionally they turn the football over, and when you're scoring 35 points a game, all it takes is a stop here, a stop there, and all of a sudden you win football games. The Eagles are trying a similar plan. They're not getting as many turnovers, obviously, and they don't have the offense to overcome it. So if you give up 30 points, you're not going to score 35. When they have turned the football over, it's worked very well. But when the beauty of this schedule, as I've said, Patrick Mahomes is gone. He's in the rear view mirror. Tom Brady's gone. He's in the rear view mirror. So the thought process behind make a team go 13, 14 plays and 80 yards, 75 yards might not work against Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, but it might work against Derek Carr and Jared Goff. And that's sort of the plan. And it should work, to be honest. If you eliminate big plays against those teams, you probably have a better chance to win than against Tampa Bay and Kansas City.
I know that there has been, because we've talked about it right here on Football 24/7, there's been conversation about Fletcher Cox. There's been conversation about Ryan Kerrigan. Jonathan Gannon, I think, has deflected some criticism in his defense of Ryan Kerrigan, for example, and how he's playing in this, I don't know, I'm afraid to call it a scheme, but in this system or this scheme or whatever he's doing. What do you make of that?
I talked about this a little bit with Jody this morning on Birds 365 when Jeff Kerr was filling in for me. And I think, this is more of an example of a young defensive coordinator screwing up the messaging more than anything else. In other words, yeah, that's one of the most difficult parts of these jobs. Nick Sirianni has gone through this as well. How you phrase the information, how you import the information to the fan base. As soon as I heard him say Ryan Kerrigan's productive, I knew that was it. That's the only thing people were going to take from that. And they were going to scream to the microphone and say, 1 tackle, 6 games. How does this idiot think Ryan Kerrigan is productive? They don't listen to the context that followed. Ryan Kerrigan is not what he was in the Washington football team when he was one of the best pass rushers of his generation. He's a role player here. He's being asked to do different things. What Gannon was saying is he's doing his job and what he's asked to do. A lot of times he's playing 5 technique. A lot of times he's playing 4-eye technique. And he's just asked to occupy blockers so other people can go be the playmaker. At one time, he was the playmaker in Washington. He's 33 years old. That's not what he's being asked to do here. So what Jonathan was saying was, as the 4th man in the rotation at defensive end, he's doing his job. But all anybody's going to hear is productive. And they're expecting I don't know what they're expecting. I don't know if they were expecting multiple sacks, what he was in Washington when he was 25. But Nick Sirianni's had this trouble as well, how they phrase things. And JG got in this problem with no scheme. You're still talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. What he meant is he doesn't want to be pigeonholed into being a cover 2 guy, a cover 3 guy, an aggression guy, a blitz guy. You know, he's going to play different against Tom Brady than he is against Derek Carr. He's going to play different against Derek Carr than Jared Goff if you look ahead to the Detroit game. That's what he means.
Well, what do you see, John? I mean, you're the expert.
Well,
I'm just a facilitator here. What do you see? I was one that was super excited when they signed the veteran in the offseason, just because, and I guess, admittedly, because of all of the big games that Kerrigan had.
An Eagles killer.
It was an Eagles killer. So I was so excited. I didn't know what he had left in the tank, but I definitely was excited about him and the ability for him to come in and, quote unquote, air quotes, make some plays on defense. Now, maybe he is. What do you see?
No, he's not making plays, and that's why I said he's not being asked to make plays. I'm looking what he's played 35% of the defensive snaps. So let's just use that as the baseline. That's a career low, obviously. It's only, he used to play early in his career 99%, 95%, 95% of the snaps in Washington, as an example, when he was an impact player, always on the field. 8.5 sacks, 8.5 sacks, 13.5 sacks when he's playing that much. So number one, he doesn't play that much. Number two, he's playing even more than they had projected because of Brandon Graham's injury. So that 35% is even higher than it was supposed to be. So he's not playing, number one, all that much. Number two, he's not playing the same position. Now the Ryan Kerrigan that you're thinking of is Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett. That's who has that role in this defense. So, I think you have a misguided expectation because of what he once was. And I always joke, look, God bless fans, but they think everything is a stasis. And once you're a star, you're always a star. And this league moves quickly. You might be a star, and when you're 33, guess what? You're not a star. That's where you are with Ryan Kerrigan. But he's not been effective. He's not played well. That's the part I think you can criticize Jonathan Gannon on. But as a whole, you're talking about the fourth defensive end, or what should be the fourth defensive end. I think that's, you're in the forest and you can't see the trees at that point, because Ryan Kerrigan doesn't have a lot to do with this defense, and he wasn't projected to have a lot to do with this defense.
Football 24/7, getting it straight with John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We'll remind everybody that we're presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. As you can see on the scroll, use the promo code JAKIB. Get 15% off of a 1-liter bottle if you're in Pennsylvania. They'll deliver it right to your door. Stateside Vodka. So many of our viewers and our subscribers are using JAKIB to get 15% off, and we thank you very much for doing that. We encourage you to continue to support Philly's own Stateside Vodka. We're here with NFL insider John McMullen. It's our Wednesday update, back to practice after the mini bye week. The team is back. The players were back. What happened today, John? Full practice, full gear, full everything today?
Yeah, the big practice of the week, Wednesday, and Lane Johnson would be the biggest news. Back at practice in a limited fashion, but he was out there at right tackle. So if everything goes well, um, I would expect Lane Johnson to be the starting right tackle, Jordan Mailata to be the starting left tackle, and Andre Dillard heading back to the bench. So that to me was the biggest news of the day, and that Lane is getting very, very close. The Eagles also started the 21-day practice windows for Tyree Jackson and Kayvon Wallace. So they're getting closer to returning from injured reserve. And Tyree was looking fine. So, there's a potential that he might even be activated because Dallas Goedert remains on the COVID-19 list. So obviously he's been not been able to be cleared. And other than that, pretty healthy. Anthony Harris was the only player who missed practice. Has injuries to both of his hands, which is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Derek Barnett was limited. Jason Kelsey, but that's just rest for a veteran player. Long snapper Rick Lovato has a bit of a hamstring issue, but he'll be fine. So I think Lane's going to be out there on Sunday, unless, of course, something else happens and he's been dealing. But right now he's back. He's practicing. I think the Eagles expect him to be out there.
Coming in into the game this week off of last week, I would think, I guess, of the body of work from Jalen Hurts. I would think that the Thursday night game was his worst of the six. Would you agree with that?
That's a good question. You kind of go, certainly, boy, he did not play well against Carolina either. They just made a couple plays late. And really, if you think about it, they had the block punts. They had the big field goal. So big special teams, big defense. The defense was great in that game. So that's 2 games in a row. I don't think he's played well. Obviously, San Francisco, which is the game statistically, probably he was the worst in. And boy, it's been a run, man. I got to be honest. Look, San Francisco and Dallas, the numbers are fine. I'm just looking at them right here. But a lot of that was after the game was decided. And anybody who watches modern football knows they shouldn't, but teams with leads tend to play differently when they have the lead in the fourth quarter, especially a big lead. And you start to go into a lot of what fans would call prevent, whether it's, cover 3, cover 2, where you're allowing chunks of yardage underneath to try to drain the clock. I don't agree with it. I don't think in this environment you can do that any longer, but man, coaches keep doing it all over the league. I think those are hollow numbers. They were blown out by Dallas. They were blown out by Kansas City. Really, they should have been blown out by Tampa Bay. It's been ugly, and that's why I talk about 2-4 not being that bad when you look at the schedule, but it's the way you got to that 2-4. And to me, it's more the offense than the defense or the special teams. Special teams, it's been fine. They've had issues with everybody has issues. The returns have not been good, the decision making, but overall, they've been that group as a whole. you're talking about core coverage teams, the punter, the kicker, they've been okay. The defense, 11th in the NFL. You could work with that, especially with the linebackers. The corners, I think, have been great, to be honest, for what they've been asked to do. The defensive line is fine as a whole. Maybe not as dominant as you would have hoped, but certainly solid. I can live with that. Can't live with the offense. And the worst part of that is you hired an offensive head coach and obviously have a young quarterback. So, not to mention, people pay more attention to the offense just in general. Hasn't been good. Hasn't been good at all.
You know, the one thing that I thought was good, and this is going to sound strange, but let me say the only reason I thought it was good, or one of the main reason, is because under your coaching and your analysis leading up to the game on Thursday night, going up against that run defense, the Eagles were not and should not expect or even attempt to have any sort of success running the football. And yet, for some reason, I thought they had some success running the football. Now, I don't know what the numbers were in terms of, hey, they ran it 20 times or whatever the final breakdown of it was, but Miles got some carries. I believe they got a couple of rushing touchdowns, and that was the unexpected out of that game on Thursday. Does that mean anything going forward? I don't know if it does or it doesn't, but to me, that was a small positive.
Well, and that's where I go back to a little bit of Bruce Arians taking the foot off the gas. So how meaningful is that? They couldn't run the football when they got behind. They only ran it when they were behind. And Bruce Arians, Super Bowl winning coach, but he made some mistakes late in that game to let the Eagles back in it. Not the least of which was going for it when he probably should have punted, which is rare in today's world. But and they ran the football a little bit late when Tampa Bay was expecting them to throw it because they were behind. Again, all statistics are not created equally. So when you've already lost the game to Dallas and you start putting up numbers, I don't value those numbers as much as when the game was being decided. Same thing with San Francisco. Same thing with Tampa Bay. This has been a theme. They get beat badly, and they make it look a little bit better in the fourth quarter. So make you feel better? I don't know. Doesn't make me feel better.
And I always like to feel good, at least going into the game. Johnny, Derek Carr is who they will see this Sunday. He put together a great game last week.
Yeah, Derek Carr is one of those guys who's a good quarterback, and I would say he's top half in the league, but I would say he's in that 16 to 13, 14 in that range. He's not a great quarterback, but in the modern NFL, it's easy to throw the ball. It's easy to pass the ball, and he can put up some pretty significant numbers, and you've seen that. And, it's interesting because the Raiders, Josh Jacobs is a big name running back. They have Peyton Barber. They have Kenyon Drake. They're supposed to have this good running game. They haven't run the football effectively, really much at all. So it's mainly been Derek Carr to Darren Waller, who's one of the best tight ends, certainly flex tight ends. Henry Ruggs, who Alabama guy, former Jalen Hurts teammate, one of the fastest receivers in the league, averages 22 yards a catch. Hunter Renfrow, people might remember him from Clemson. He's that classic slot receiver. So they've been a pass-first team. And they haven't. I think the most disappointing part for them is they haven't gotten a running game going. I think the Raiders handled what happened to them, and obviously John Gruden getting forced out very well, to say the least. Handling Denver pretty well last week. So you kind of wonder, was that just, okay, we're going to show people that we're not going to fall apart under difficult circumstances, and maybe they start feeling the effects of what happened to their organization and their team. I think maybe you take that into some hope if you're an Eagles fan. That's a really difficult circumstances. Rick Bisaccia is not supposed to be a head coach in this league. He's a head coach in this league. So good luck with that. And then, my buddy Ed Kratz brought this up today, and I didn't think about it. And he's probably right in that, this team, maybe it's good for them to go on the road at this point. Remember, they've only won twice this year, both times on the road, at Atlanta, at Carolina. Fans are not feeling that great. They were booing them against Tampa Bay. Maybe going away is what this team needs right now. A little bit less pressure on them. I think it's a winnable game, though. But, I guarantee you this, the Las Vegas Raiders look at this game and think it's a really winnable game as well.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, back with our Wednesday updates. Team went back to work. The one big practice before the game, the one full practice, back to work. And, of course, Lane Johnson, part of that big news, at least working at right tackle, and our fingers crossed for a great guy and a good guy. And we hope to see Lane back in there on Sunday. Johnny Mac, before I let you go, what's the one thing that needs to happen on Sunday that will put this team in a position to win?
What is the one thing? I think we need more consistency throwing the football from the quarterback. And by that I mean not the bubble screens, not the slip screens, not the easy passes. If there's a window down the field, we need more consistency from the quarterback. You can't leave plays like that on the field. And it's got to start. We're game 7, week 7. More consistency throwing the football. I know everyone's obsessed with the running game. I need to see the quarterback be consistent throwing the football down the field. More consistent.
Do you think the head coach will adjust and maybe create more opportunity in the middle of the field?
Well, yeah, I've talked about that a lot. You can't completely shut down one part of the field. So it's kind of why has that happened? 6 out of 208 throws in between the hash marks. Why? I do not believe, and I've said this, I do not believe 6 different opposing defenses decided, hey, we're going to take away what the Eagles never do. I think on its face, that is laughable. So I put that explanation off to the side. So what is the reason? Are the Eagles trying to protect Jalen Hurts, or is Jalen Hurts simply not does not want to throw the football in the middle of the field because he doesn't have confidence in that accuracy. And if you throw the football in the middle of the field and you're not accurate, it's going to get intercepted. So it just might be him staying away from those throws as well. It's got to improve. It's got to evolve. And I think it's I know it's a cop out, but it's part coach, it's part quarterback. And, if you think about that one throw, Zach Ertz, wide open, just completely airmailed to him, probably 5, and Zach's not a short guy. Those are the kind of throws I'm talking about. You can't miss those throws in the NFL. There's a play that worked. It was schemed up. Zach Ertz was open, and you just missed it. So, people saying he's not scheming open receivers, the head coach. It's not necessarily the case, and that's why I say more consistency throwing the football downfield.
Good stuff from John McMullen. Of course, Johnny Mac in Las Vegas this week on Sunday. We'll see him on the live post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney. John McMullen reporting from that beautiful new stadium, Johnny Mac. Excited to see that. I think the accommodations for the media will be impressive.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. These new stadiums, we've been kind of lucky. We went to Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, obviously Dallas, AT&T Stadium. It's a big difference, the new stadiums versus, and I hesitate to say old stadiums, but Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. It doesn't match up. Lincoln Financial Field doesn't match up to these new stadiums. It's amazing how quickly stadiums like that, which were brilliant for about 10 years, and then all of a sudden, and that Los Angeles stadium, whew, that thing. Have you seen that thing?
Whew, incredible. The magnitude of the money, John.
It's amazing the popularity of this league. If you think about, you build a $5 billion stadium for one preseason game, maybe 2, 8 regular season games. If you have the playoffs, if you're lucky enough, 12 dates maximum, $5 billion. That's the power of the NFL.
On that note, that'll do it for this edition of Football 24/7. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. On behalf of yours truly, John McMullen, I'm Joe Kraus. See you next time, everybody.